Chapter 81, Sin City. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master, a special commemorative model from 20 years ago. Song K found a medical equipment store at the end of the trading street. The store was located deep in winding alleys, with dim lighting, and artificial light sources didn't reach there. She stepped on several puddles along the way. The underground sea was very close, less than a kilometer away. The cold sea breeze blew towards her, making her shiver and waking her up. Probably due to its remote location, the business didn't seem to be doing well, and the entrance was deserted. Song K entered the store, and a middle-aged man behind the counter was busy with a calculator. He greeted her without much enthusiasm, saying, "See for yourself what you want." The interior space was quite large. Song K went straight to the wheelchair section, where there were various models, colors, and functions. After some research, she couldn't make up her mind. She had initially thought of buying them all, but when she touched her money pouch, she felt helpless. Thinking of Zhuang Qingyan's critical gaze, Song K reluctantly chose the most expensive one, with a fancy description and even a small booklet. When it came time to pay, the store owner glanced at her and asked, "Is this for someone else?" "Uh-huh," Song K nodded. "Is it for a new one, or are you just exchanging it?" "New, the previous one broke." The store owner calmly said, "This wheelchair doesn't offer good value for the price. Many of its functions are superfluous. If you want something practical, you can take a look at those in the showcase. They're from Qingsong Biotech, and they're considerably cheaper." She didn't expect the owner, who appeared uninterested, to be quite honest. Song K went to the showcase and indeed found a familiar silver-white one that resembled the one Zhuang Qingyan used before. She happily picked it up and went to the counter to pay, saying, "I'll take this one." The store owner's forehead twitched. "This is a sample. Let me get you a new one from the warehouse." The store owner went through a small door, and Song K waited at the same spot. The main door opened with a swish, and two playful figures entered. First, there was a 6 or 7-year-old boy with a face covered in sand, looking all dirty. Following him was a beautiful young man with a dark green snake tail. This time, he was wearing an old cartoon t-shirt with rolled edges. His tail swayed merrily, making a clang, clang sound as it bumped into the counter. When the two entered, they were suddenly startled upon seeing Song K, and both of them trembled visibly. Then the little boy quickly realized and turned to push the snake-tailed young man, saying, "Hurry, run, you run." The store owner, upon hearing the commotion, emerged from the warehouse and, after taking in the scene, sternly shouted, "Yanish, I told you not to bring him in here." The boy clung to the snake-tailed young man, crying loudly, "Papa, don't give Gabriel to the bad people. Don't give him to the bad people, wah." Song K, who was confused by being labeled a bad person without a word. The snake-tailed young man stared at Song K with his amber-colored eyes for a while, and the rings on his tail rustled. Suddenly, he burst into a cheerful laugh. Song K, feeling quite awkward, shook her head and said, I think we should know each other." Yanash's crying abruptly stopped, and the bubble of snot popped with a pop. After explaining the situation with the Rose auction house, the store owner sighed. "Gabriel is a creature Yanish found by the sea. I told him not to do it. These exotic pets are usually kept by wealthy individuals. He might have escaped from somewhere, and sooner or later, he'll be captured. But Yanish doesn't listen and goes to play with him every day. So, I had to set a rule. Gabriel isn't allowed inside the store." Gabriel probably doesn't have an owner yet," Song K kindly informed the store owner. After all, the auction hadn't concluded, and they had disrupted it. It was chaotic afterward, and the snake-tailed young man seemed to have sneaked out on his own. Yanish eagerly asked, "Papa, can we adopt Gabriel?" The store owner shouted loudly, "Clean your face." Yanish shrunk his neck and, leading Gabriel, went out to the seaside to play and wash his face. The store owner settled Song K's bill and hesitated for a moment before asking, "Are you sure the auction house has been destroyed, And there won't be any more people coming? Yes, Song K nodded. After all, the person behind the Rose auction house, Shi Liang, had fallen from power. Now, with Hu Yang taking over, the chances of these illicit activities making a comeback were slim. Adopting him shouldn't be a problem for you. The store owner gazed out of the window at Yanish and Gabriel playing in the water, lost in thought. As soon as Song K pushed the door open to leave, Yanish ran over, followed by the gracefully swimming Gabriel. He circled Song K a few times, then affectionately rubbed his tail tip against her calf. Gabriel likes you and wants you to touch him, Yanish enthusiastically translated. Reluctantly, Song K extended her fingertip cautiously and touched Gabriel's emerald green tail. The scales beneath her touch were smooth, cool to the touch, and slightly rough from the mixture of sand and seawater. Gabriel seemed to thoroughly enjoy her touch, closing his eyes as the scales on his belly gently expanded, revealing a faint waistline. With sharp eyes, Song K noticed a concealed row of small letters where Gabriel's human body met his snake tail. These weren't tattoos or engravings, they seemed to be naturally part of him. She bent down, getting closer to Gabriel's abdomen, and carefully read the words, RYK 1275. It was a U-Lab experimental subject number. Gabriel wriggled out of Song K's palm and moved behind her, staring intently at her waist. Song K, feeling uncomfortable, asked, "Why is he looking at me like that?" Gabriel made a couple of "ah" sounds and tilted his head in confusion. Yanish earnestly translated for him, "Gabriel is asking, where's your tail?" Song K replied, "I never had a tail to begin with." It seemed that Gabriel found the absence of a tail difficult to comprehend. He circled Song K at close range, observing her arms, neck, and face. Then, he suddenly straightened his upper body, bringing his beautiful face close to hers, locking eyes with her. His clear eyes gradually filled with confusion. "Gabriel, you can't. You can only like me first, and then you can like her," Yanish said, jealous of Gabriel's closeness to Song K. Gabriel burst into laughter, swaying his tail and splashing sand, showering Song K and Yanish with it. Song K spat out the sand and thought, with an expressionless face, that she couldn't handle Gabriel's affection. Back at the safe house, Song K tiptoed toward Zhuang Qingyan's room and quietly placed the newly bought wheelchair outside his door. After contemplating for a couple of seconds, she decided it would be better to tell him in person and maybe persuade him not to be upset with Lu Xiaoyu. She was about to push the door open when she suddenly remembered Zhuang Qingyan's repeated emphasis on maintaining proper decorum between men and women. So, she knocked on the door respectfully instead. "Knock, knock." She gently tapped the door twice. No response from inside. "Knock, knock." She knocked a bit harder. Still no response. Bang, bang. She applied more force, and the door was flung open. Song K stuck her head inside and scanned the room, but it was empty. "Oh no, Lu Xiaoyu is in danger." Limping with a crutch, Zhuang Qingyan unceremoniously pushed open Lu Xiaoyu's door. Lu Xiaoyu was in the midst of adjusting his two new legs, and upon seeing the unexpected visitor barging in, he paused for less than a second before continuing his activities as if nothing had happened, one step at a time. Zhuang Qingyan strolled in leisurely, glancing at Lu Xiaoyu's familiar pair of mechanical legs, and calmly leaned against the wall. Lu Xiaoyu proudly showed off, "I recreated them based on practical theory of mechanical design and structural technology." "How's that?" "Oh, I forgot, your GPA is only 4.2. You probably can't understand it." Zhuang Qingyan instantly countered, "At least I still have a 4.2 GPA, unlike someone who failed an elective course like language, social interaction, and the arts." Lu Xiaoyu quickly shot up to 2.5 meters in height. "Objection. You're distorting the facts. I failed because I got the exam time wrong." Zhuang Qingyan disregarded his protest, saying, "I've said it before. I don't like talking to people with my neck tilted." Lu Xiaoyu clicked his tongue and slowly descended, returning to his wheelchair. Why are you limping? He asked. Accident. I thought you'd have, accidentally, died by now. Sorry to disappoint you. So, did you find a backer because you couldn't make it on your own? Lu Xiaoyu inquired, his curiosity evident. Zhuang Qingyan tilted his head and gave him a sidelong glance. What, are you envious? What's your relationship with Song Ke? Are you using her? Lu Xiaoyu's ice blue eyes flashed. His social interactions were always laced with aggression. No, Zhuang Qingyan answered without hesitation. But then he paused for a moment, seemingly lost in thought. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he appeared unusually serious. She is indeed my backer, but I won't use her. Lu Xiaoyu remained quiet for a moment before relentlessly pressing on. Why did you skip my first question? Zhuang Qingyan coldly retorted, why can't you learn to read people's expressions? Lu Xiaoyu clicked his tongue once more. Zhuang Qingyan tapped his crutch on the ground and his almond-shaped eyes carried a warning. Don't mess with her. She grew up in District F. She doesn't have as many twisted thoughts as you do, and she might take things seriously. District F? Lu Xiaoyu repeated, his expression showing some oddity. What's the problem? Zhuang Qingyan keenly noticed his unusual reaction. Lu Xiaoyu said, I thought she was from District B. Zhuang Qingyan straightened up, asking, what do you mean? Lu Xiaoyu pulled out the light screen that Song Ke had given him before she left, saying, although this light screen is quite old, it's a special commemorative model from 20 years ago, only available in a limited quantity in District B. You guys at Qinglan mentioned ordering a large batch, and it cost me the opportunity to get a first edition. That's why I remember it vividly. What does that have to do with anything? Light screens can be secondhand. Light screens can be resold, but what about the data inside? Lu Xiaoyu brought up a copy of Particle Physics Advanced Microbiology and glanced through it casually. These textbooks aren't within District F's access rights. Zhuang Qingyan couldn't help but frown. He had used Song Ke's light screen before and hadn't noticed anything special, but he had overlooked one thing. He had always been looking up the content according to his level of understanding. However, when it came to Song Ke, could she understand it? Lu Xiaoyu continued, there's also something interesting. I found a hidden database and it took me a full 45 seconds to crack it. Zhuang Qingyan took the light screen from Lu Xiaoyu, and in the folder that Lu Xiaoyu had found were cutting-edge research papers and data on genetics. This light screen, he began to say. Bam! The door was abruptly pushed open, and Song Ke rushed in frantically. Please, please don't fight. In the room, the two men, one standing and one sitting, and the expected explosive argument was nowhere to be found. The atmosphere remained peaceful and harmonious. Both Zhuang Qingyan and Lu Xiaoyu turned to look at her. Song Ke found herself in an awkward situation, her words of persuasion stuck in her throat. She wished she could disappear on the spot. Song Ke, come here, Zhuang Qingyan called out to her. Why? Song Ke hesitantly approached. Where did this light screen come from? Zhuang Qingyan asked. Huh? Song Ke blinked, puzzled. It belonged to my grandfather. Zhuang Qingyan and Lu Xiaoyu exchanged a glance, silently agreeing to skip the previous topic. Song Ke had mentioned that she was an orphan and had lived with her only grandfather. Until they figured out the true owner of the light screen, it was better not to reveal it and add to her troubles. I remember you said your grandfather left this light screen for you. Zhuang Qingyan emphasized the word, left, deliberately. Yes, he wanted me to study every day, Song Ke nodded. He wanted you to study these? Particle physics? Zhuang Qingyan opened the rather complex textbook. Sorry for the interruption. Lu Xiaoyu coughed lightly. Just my humble opinion, but I think your grandfather intended for you to study the content of this database. Lu Xiaoyu swiped his fingertip, quickly switching to another layer of the system. The screen displayed a set of children's textbooks and several peculiar ebooks. Learn local dialects and travel fearlessly across the Alliance. 100 clever tips for independent living, practical everyday applications of legal knowledge. Song Ke exclaimed, huh? Could it be that she had been studying the wrong books all along? No wonder she diligently studied every day and hadn't learned anything. Chapter 82. Sin City, 16, Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. Lu's Law of Road Rush, End of Sin City Arc. Song K, you're 13 now. You need to learn to cook for yourself. Even when Grandpa isn't here, you should eat well to grow strong and tall. There's a cookbook I personally wrote on the tablet. Follow the videos and remember not to eat failed dishes. Song K, you're 14 this year, right? Try not to get into fights at school, and even if you do, don't break anyone's head. We can't afford the damages. Find some hidden places. Ahem, you should continue your education, and become a knowledgeable and cultured person. Study your textbooks diligently. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you something. Don't be afraid to spend money. Our family isn't as poor as you might think. Grandpa left 3 backup funds for you. One is with your Uncle Cheng, another is in my secret account. The password is 4x, be sure to retrieve it, or it might expire. And the last one, hee, Grandpa hid it 3 inches inside the wall behind your bed. Reach in and feel around. There's a small box inside with some rhenium bars that Grandpa secretly stashed. If you ever run out of money, you can sell them. I heard that this thing is very valuable. Along with a pile of children's textbooks, there were voice messages from Song Ziyuan for Song K. Starting from the year he passed away, there were about 2 or 3 messages a year, adding up to nearly 20 messages. They were filled with various reminders and oozing with care for her. Song K, even though Grandpa can't see it, you must be growing up well, right? This world is more beautiful than you can imagine. Stay happy, safe, and healthy. Do whatever you want to do, and most importantly, you have to live well. Song K finished reading the last message, her nose red. She stared at the screen until it automatically went dark. She missed her grandpa so much. A pair of gentle hands ruffled her hair, not saying anything, but their comforting gesture was enough. Song K nuzzled into Zhuang Qingyan's palm, unreservedly wetting it with her tears. Zhuang Qingyan's hand paused for a moment, then slid down the back of her head, teasing her like a little cat. He pinched her fair nape and, in the process, returned her tears to her. Song K's heartache was swept away, and she turned to glare at him, her clear eyes full of vitality, back to normal. Zhuang Qingyan's lips curved with a faint smile. Unfortunately, the third person present, Lu Xiaoyu, was not one to appreciate the romantic atmosphere. His rigid voice abruptly broke the two people's beautiful atmosphere. This light screen is designed for researchers and its main feature is 2 independent systems and a deep firewall. Its practicality is average. Song K puffed her cheeks. I'm not very good at using it. She was never familiar with high-tech products. She must have accidentally switched systems while fumbling around and then forgotten how to switch back. Not only did she not gain any knowledge, but she also missed what her grandfather wanted to say to her. Song K silently sighed and for the first time, she felt like she might be a bit stupid. Lu Xiaoyu, completely oblivious to her disappointment, continued in a matter-of-fact tone, in situations like this, my suggestion is to reread Kali plus Linux penetration testing techniques detailed explanation. It will take a little time to crack the hidden database, but considering your level of knowledge, I think you should start with web security and DOS commands. Song K stared blankly. Huh? Lu Xiaoyu paused. Maybe start with the basic user guide for the light screen, and the version for 7 to 14-year-olds might be more suitable for you. Zhuang Qingyan's cold gaze swept over. Shut up. Lu Xiaoyu shrugged. Song K blinked at the screen and said sincerely to Lu Xiaoyu, thank you. After all, if it weren't for Lu Xiaoyu, she might never have heard the words her grandfather left for her. Lu Xiaoyu was left a little baffled. Half an hour later, Lin Yuyu, Fang Jishu, and others gathered in Lu Xiaoyu's room for a meeting. Lu Xiaoyu has been found, and our next plan is to go to Mu City, Zhuang Qingyan said. Song K nodded solemnly. The operation in Sin City had been full of difficulties and unexpected twists from the beginning. However, with everyone's concerted efforts, they had ultimately succeeded. Before we leave this place, I suggest that we get to know each other better. After all, we will be traveling together for some time. Zhuang Qingyan relaxed in his new wheelchair. Let's start with the captain. Song Ke, who was called a pawn, puffed up her chest, and her palm subtly moved, forming a blade-shaped azure light. Song Ke, S-Class strong offensive type gold and metal type ability. I can transform things into a spiritual weapon and I'm really good in fights. Xu Xing clapped his hands enthusiastically, offering support. Big sis is the best. Zhuang Qingyan chuckled. We've all witnessed the captain's strength, no doubt about that. The rest of the team nodded in agreement. Next is me, Zhuang Qingyan, from the Qinglin Research Institute, an S-Class spiritual type ability. Lu Xiaoyu, from District B8, Urgia, S-Class hacker type ability. The abilities of these two couldn't be easily classified as either attack or support. They were more control-oriented. They could both engage in offense and defense, and as S-Class awakeners, their power was equally remarkable. Fang Jishu, from District C60, Tungwen, a class healing type ability, formerly a renowned surgeon. Although Fang Jishu wasn't a combat talent, his role in the team was indispensable. Without him, Song Ke's severe injuries wouldn't have received timely treatment, and Lu Xiaoyu, with tubes all over her body, wouldn't have escaped death prison so easily. Lin Yuyu, from District C72, Ferrara, a class support type sound ability. I'm not good at fighting, but I can buff you guys. Su Cha, from District E170, Rainforest, a class strong offensive and poison type ability. Zhuang Qingyan said with a smile, these two are temporary team members. Lin Yuyu gave him a sidelong glance, her long eyelashes drooping down without a word of rebuttal. She had indeed joined V587 with impure intentions, partly due to the pressure from Song Ke and partly for her own selfish reasons. After everyone else had introduced themselves, only Xu Xing remained. He looked to his left, then to his right, and suddenly burst into tears, crying and choking as he said, I'm Xu Xing. I'm a B-class strong offensive, ice-type ability, from District F177. While everyone else was either S-class or A-class, he was the only B-class. Xu Xing's self-esteem took a serious hit, and at that moment, he deeply realized the meaning behind Zhuang Qingyan's constant push for him to improve his abilities. He didn't want to be a slacker who only shouted, 666. He didn't want to be useless. Song Ke ran over to comfort him. Xiao Xing, you're really strong, you're a group attack type. Xu Xing sniffled, really? Yes, Song Ke nodded decisively. You still have 90% of your potential and a chance to level up. Xu Xing wiped away his tears, and when he discreetly glanced at Lu Xiaoyu, who had successfully leveled up, he silently made up his mind. Where do we go next? Did you mention District C55? Lu Xiaoyu asked. Lin Yuyu opened her terminal and looked at it, then alerted everyone. The Throne Race's third round of competition for the final 16 is about to begin. The official competition day is in 3 days. Su Cha's deep voice said, if we rush back now, we might not make it. They had been delayed too long in death prison, and District F had poor transportation. 3 days didn't seem like enough time to get them back to Ferrara. Should they give up like this? Lin Yuyu clenched her lips in frustration. Why wouldn't we make it? Lu Xiaoyu suddenly asked. Lin Yuyu explained, it took us a week to get here, first with the transport convoy to the outskirts, then switching to off-road vehicles to enter the desert. Lu Xiaoyu. Why not switch to more efficient means of transportation? Lin Yuyu. Did they not want to? Did they not have it? Speaking of the Alliance's most advanced flying ships, Song Ke looked at Lu Xiaoyu with a hint of helplessness. You forgot, the starship, it's broken. Lu Xiaoyu tugged at the corner of his mouth, trying to make a slightly disapproving smile, but it wasn't very successful, and it looked a bit odd. It's just a loss of power. You can't describe it as broken. What do you mean? Do you have a solution? Lin Yuyu's eyes lit up. Lu Xiaoyu answered without asking, the competition you mentioned sounds interesting. Can I participate? Huh? Do you have a wish you want to fulfill too? Song Ke asked. She had already promised Lin Yuyu that if they won the championship, she would give Lin Yuyu the opportunity to make a wish. If Lu Xiaoyu also wanted. No, I just like coming first, Lu Xiaoyu replied matter-of-factly. The group fell silent. The genius's thought process was truly beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. Okay, then you can participate next time. Captain, do you have any objections? Zhuang Qingyan sought Song Ke's opinion. Song Ke was slightly worried. Lu Xiaoyu had just recovered and looked fragile. Would he be okay? Lu Xiaoyu's 2 legs shot up, and his towering 2.5-meter height made him look down on everyone. His ice blue eyes gleamed, his silver hair flew, and his awakened energy poured out, enveloping the entire room in a silver-white matrix of 101,010 code. Song Ke. Number objections. Lu Xiaoyu was more than okay. He was more than capable. Lu Xiaoyu sat back in his wheelchair with satisfaction. Let's go then and find a starship. Before leaving, V587 bid farewell to an old friend. Cheng Yi's business was thriving more than ever, keeping her extremely busy. She had just seen off one customer when she was greeted by the familiar group of 7. Zhuang Qingyan was in a wheelchair, and Lu Xiaoyu had walked over on his own. Lu Xiaoyu's towering 2.5-meter height made him stand out, but in a city full of strange individuals, where even mechanical bodies were not unusual, their presence only attracted a bit more attention. As they approached, Cheng Yi's gaze lingered on Su Cha's face for 2 seconds before she couldn't help but burst into laughter. Su Cha's hat was pulled low, he wore a mask, and had on a thick coat that wrapped him up completely. His face, with his current reputation, was well known throughout Sin City. Going out without any disguise would probably lead to a mob of fans, making it impossible for him to move freely. Boss Cheng, we're about to leave, Zhuang Qingyan greeted Cheng Yi. Before we go, we'd like to make one last deal with you. Cheng Yi touched her half-shaven head and took a deep breath. Where else do you want to attack? Zhuang Qingyan smiled. Boss Cheng, you've misunderstood. We just want to get some information about the starship port. How many crystals would you require? After a moment of contemplation, Cheng Yi unexpectedly replied, I can provide you with the information. You don't need to pay for it. She pointed towards the direction of Death Prison, her expression remarkably calm. I don't know who you really are, but because of you, Sin City has indeed changed, and for the better. The Rose Auction House has changed hands, and human *F-ficking has been categorized as a serious crime. Anyone attempting a comeback must think twice. After taking office, Hu Yang had not hurried to declare his authority. He hadn't even made public appearances or delivered speeches. He remained entrenched in the dark depths of Death Prison, systematically correcting errors. The absence of criminal records did not mean the prisoners outside would gain their freedom. The underground city had enacted new regulations, and though chaos still reigned and villains were aplenty, it was slowly moving towards order. Cheng Yi laughed heartily. Consider the information about the starship port a gift from me. Even the most opportunistic of merchants had a human side to them. Su Cha drove the off-road vehicle through the desert. According to Cheng Yi, the starship port in Sin City had been nearly abandoned before the apocalypse. Inside, there were only a few starships left unattended, and she wasn't sure if they still existed or if they had been sold as scrap. Just as Song Ke and her team approached their destination, something interesting happened. A group of heavily armed bandits leapt out and shouted, "Robbery! Hand over everything valuable." Song Ke and her team exchanged glances, and everyone couldn't help but find the situation somewhat amusing. They had been robbed by the treacherous Mia when they first arrived, and now, as they were leaving, it seemed they couldn't escape being robbed again. It could be said that, even as new changes were emerging, Sin City still lived up to its reputation as a city of sin. Su Cha had been in a foul mood the whole way, and his patience had reached its limit. He removed his hat and mask, then spoke coldly, "You have 3 seconds to get lost." The leader of the bandits stared at him for a full 4 seconds, maintaining an arrogant attitude. "Who are you to tell me to get lost? If you tell me to get lost, then I'll just get lost. Wouldn't I lose face by leaving? Boss, maybe we should retreat. These people look not easy to deal with." One of his subordinates, displaying some wisdom, had already started to back down. "Retreat? Are you kidding me? Don't you know that causing trouble when entering Sin City is essential? We've finally made it here, and we can't just give up now." "Oh, it's a rookie. No wonder he doesn't recognize the famous V587. Xu Xing jumped out, hands on his hips, and shouted with great vigor, "I said get lost. Can't you hear me?" A relentless snowstorm blew in, freezing the bandits who were attempting to rob them into ice sculptures. The leader who had been boasting had his mouth contorted from the cold. "Oh my ancestor, little ancestor, please let us go. We'll leave immediately." Xu Xing snorted and eased his power, causing the bandits to flee in a panic. This little incident was quickly forgotten as the 7 made their way into the starship port. Inside, they found a collection of dilapidated and half-buried starships. Lu Xiaoyu picked a relatively intact-looking one and climbed into the cockpit. Curious, Song Ke followed him. Lu Xiaoyu effortlessly accessed the control panel, with his ice-blue eyes reflecting the data. Various parameters rapidly changed and reconfigured. Without Yiyu, there are other energy sources: wind, water, sunlight. Everything you can see can be used to power the starship. Lu Xiaoyu was the primary reason for the eternal soaring bird's never-ending flight. The old starship slowly ascended, stirring up the yellow sand as it roared to life. Observing this, the others boarded one by one and found their seats. Lu Xiaoyu closed the cabin door. Although he didn't smile, everyone could sense his happiness. "We're ready to go." Boom! The engines roared to life, and the starship, now reinvigorated, shot off like a meteor. Inside the cockpit, Song Ke and the others were thrown off balance by the powerful thrust and had to grab onto the seat's armrests. Lin Yuyu, who often traveled on starships due to her job, spoke up, "Wait a minute. Did you forget to engage the star track route? Deviation from the star track route would disable the automatic pilot and navigation, leaving the entire journey reliant on manual control, greatly increasing the risk." Soon, Lin Yuyu discovered another critical issue and shouted in panic, "Hey, aren't you speeding like crazy?" The starship accelerated again, flashed a few times in the vast desert, and vanished into the airspace above District F-180. Lu Xiaoyu, you lunatic. Chapter 83. When the Roses Bloom, 1. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. We became stronger. After a 3-month absence, Ferrara still shone with neon lights. Is this the city ruled by artificial intelligence? Lu Xiaoyu lowered the starship's altitude and peered out the window. A flower parade ship passed by, and on the floating advertising screen, a sweet female star with cherry blossom pink hair was smiling at him. Lu Xiaoyu focused on it for a couple of seconds, then turned back and found a certain person in the back seat with precision. Lin Yuyu awkwardly covered her face. Yeah, it's me, already used to social death. An illusory city with fake personalities, Lu Xiaoyu commented pointedly. You. On the opposite side, Song Ke and Xu Xing were sprawled across their seats, their faces pale. The intense motion sickness from the high-speed ride made the two, who rarely took starships from District F, unable to stop themselves from vomiting. Fang Jishu's complexion wasn't too good either. He had always followed safe driving practices and had never ridden in a black car, like Lu Xiaoyu's starship. Luckily, he was a healing-type awakener himself, and with his ability enveloping his body, he managed to overcome the discomfort after a few breaths. Lu Xiaoyu piloted the starship, blending in with the flower parade ship, and found a spot to land. Song Ke got off the starship in a daze and caught a whiff of a burnt smell. She looked around and quickly noticed something abnormal. The engine is on fire. While traveling at super high speed, the 4 engines of the starship emitted black smoke and, with a puff, were rendered completely useless. Liu Xiaoyu deactivated the control panel with some regret. Couldn't break the speed threshold. This is the main reason solar energy got phased out. Next time we get a new starship, I'll consider using a different energy source. Song K repeated in shock. Next time, a new starship? You really don't know how expensive firewood and rice are. Thanks to Cheng Yi confiscating their money, there was no sign of the next starship. With Liu Xiaoyu's habit of wasting 1 aircraft for every trip, they were quickly heading towards bankruptcy. The impoverished captain silently hugged her money pouch. The group of people returned to the hotel, booked the largest suite, and without saying a word, they all collapsed onto the couch and beds, sleeping like logs. After spending a long time in the dim and cramped prison cell, their legs and bodies felt stiff. The soft mattress in Ferrara made for an exceptionally comfortable rest. They woke up one by one, yawning and heading to the multimedia room for a meeting. The screen displayed the previous match's recordings, and Zhuang Qingyan projected the new rules. The top 16 knockout stage followed a challenge mode for team battles. The first-place teams from the previous A to G group matches were the defending champions, while the remaining teams became challengers. In each round, the challengers could select one defending champion to challenge. If the challenge succeeded, they would replace the defending champion. The qualification rules were simple as well. If the defending champion received a bye in a round or won all rounds in a single turn, they would directly qualify. However, each team's participants couldn't be repeated in each round, which meant that if they started as challengers, they had only 5 chances to challenge. Each team had a maximum of 5 players. Choosing the right defending champion was crucial. This competition format was reminiscent of the ancient story of the Tianji's horse race. If the defending champion was strong in a particular round, the challengers might choose to forfeit and wait for the next chance. On the other hand, if the defending champion appeared weak, they might face multiple challenges within the same round. V587, as the first place in Group G, naturally received the title of defending champion. They needed to win 3 rounds to qualify. Lin Yuyu and Su Cha had also joined the team, increasing their pool of available participants to 7. In the selection of defending champions for the rounds, Zhuang Qingyan first ruled out 2 support-type participants, Lin Yuyu and Fang Jishu, as they had no advantage in this type of challenge. For the first round, Liu Xiaoyu, you haven't appeared before, and there's no information on you. Due to the underestimation by challengers, there should be many who want to challenge you, but their strength won't be very high. You can win with surprise tactics and quickly secure a victory. Liu Xiaoyu nodded calmly, and the others agreed without objections. For the second round, Su Cha, your solo combat abilities are strong. Get it done as quickly as possible. Got it, Su Cha responded coolly. Zhuang Qingyan smiled slyly. For the last round, it's our captain's turn to lead. All right, Song K confidently nodded. I also want to participate. Xu Xing raised his hand and spoke with eagerness. He was already the weakest in V587, and if he didn't improve his strength quickly, the gap with others would only widen. In that case, Xiao Xing, you'll go second, Su Cha third, and I'll go fourth. Song K patted Xu Xing's head, encouraging the child to get some practice as well, saying that as long as she was there, losing wouldn't be a problem. Since you've made your decisions, I guess it's all right if I don't appear tomorrow? Lin Yuyu summoned her terminal, and a rose gold invitation letter appeared. Although it's all a fake persona, I still need to make a living. I've been invited to be a special guest for tomorrow's match. Song K was puzzled. Aren't the guests supposed to be artificial intelligence only? Lin Yuyu replied, I'm not entirely sure, but it seems that after the Ferrari incident last time, Ilya has relaxed the regulations in this regard. The 10 new stars even shot a short film together. It's not relaxation, Zhuang Qingyan said, leaning on his crutch. During the 3 months we were away, although Ilya hasn't appeared in public, his abilities have been continually growing stronger, far surpassing humans. He doesn't care about whatever commotion you make. Everyone fell silent. No one knew just how far this powerful AI magistrate would develop. Then, may I take a day off tomorrow? Lin Yuyu asked. Sure. Captain Song agreed with a wave of her hand. The atmosphere in the multimedia room was calm, and Zhuang Qingyan suddenly asked, What are you doing? Song Ke turned her head and was surprised to see that Lu Xiaoyu's hand was about to reach another wheelchair in the room. He answered seriously, I need materials for a second modification. A crutch extended through the air to block his path, and Zhuang Qingyan squinted slightly, speaking with a confrontational tone. Lu Xiaoyu, there are some things I can only tolerate once. Lu Xiaoyu casually retracted his hand. Oh, then please help me get some materials. I'll handle the procurement, Fang Jishu volunteered. Since everyone had tasks, he didn't want to remain idle. This is the list. Lu Xiaoyu's ice blue eyes flashed as he transferred a large amount of data to Fang Jishu's terminal. By the way, if possible, buy another terminal. We'll be going to District C55, right? I need equipment to hack into District C's household registration system. Fang Jishu paused for a moment, then nodded, all right. 2 days later, the Throne Race competition's top 16 knockout stage officially began. The host was the ever-energetic Ake, and after explaining the rules, he turned the topic to something special, saying, Today's guests are quite unique. Please welcome one of the 10 new stars, Lin Yuyu, as she brings us a new song, Gentle Rain. Spotlights illuminated the stage, and unlike previous appearances, the star on stage wasn't a holographic projection but emerged slowly from a lift. Lin Yuyu wore a magnificent performance outfit with exquisite makeup, shimmering at the corners of her eyes. Her melodious voice filled the air. I like your smile, like a gentle rain sprinkled in my heart, In the competitor's area, Song Ke swayed from side to side, humming along with the enthusiastic fans. I like your smile, like a gentle rain, sprinkled in my heart, She sang off key, not hitting a single note, but she was oblivious to it herself. Zhuang Qingyan turned to look at her, and Song Ke remained unaware. A faint smile appeared on his lips, and he couldn't help but laugh. On the other side, Irene gazed at the dazzling Lin Yuyu on stage and cast a glance in the direction of V587. The mysterious masked competitor was indeed not among them. She turned her head back to continue watching the performance. After the song ended, Lin Yuyu stood beside Ake, and the line between the real person and AI was gradually becoming blurred, indistinguishable from a distance. Ake enthusiastically asked, This is your first time visiting our live event, Lin Yuyu. Is there anything you'd like to say to everyone? Lin Yuyu displayed her signature smile. I'm honored to accept the invitation, and I've actually been following the competition. Oh, do you have a team you're supporting? Of course, but I can't reveal it now. I hope they can achieve victory successfully. All right, let's all look forward to it together. After the opening, the 7 defending champions took the stage one by one, and the audience's discussions grew louder. What's going on with the defending champion from Group G? Did they come to the wrong place? Damn, even disabled people are participating? V587, weren't they the dark horse from last time? Why did they change members? Amidst a group of celebrity participants like Duanmu Qi, Old Shang, and Irene, Lu Xiaoyu, sitting in a wheelchair with his legs disabled, appeared particularly fragile, like a little lamb lost among wolves. Zhuang Qingyan's speculation was correct. Lu Xiaoyu had indeed become the target of many challengers. In the first round of challenges, a staggering 15 people saw him as an easy breakthrough. I choose him too. The first challenger was an old acquaintance, the Ferrara star, a bassist who had crossed paths with them in Mirror Lake. Without any hesitation, the young man with smoky eye makeup immediately began producing his unique ability, creating a cacophonous noise with his bass. Lu Xiaoyu calmly appreciated it for a moment, then shook his head, quickly drawing a conclusion. The opponent's musical taste was truly terrible and hard to bear. His ice-blue eyes gleamed as he released his psychic power, sending a Cotard wave segment straight into the opponent's face. The bassist's eyes rolled back, and he convulsed before collapsing on the ground. The audience had yet to fully comprehend what had happened when the match was already over. The second challenger was noticeably more cautious. His awakened ability was defensive type, allowing his entire body to become like steel, resisting external attacks. However, seeing that Lu Xiaoyu had no legs and difficulty in moving, he slyly circled around him, like a mischievous monkey. Lu Xiaoyu followed his movements, but couldn't catch him head-on. Growing increasingly impatient, he made a tch sound and instantly extended 6 massive mechanical arms from his back, resembling spider legs. They shot out from midair and swiftly attacked, their cold tendrils accurately piercing the opponent's chest. The arena fell into a sudden hush, with even the surrounding sounds of battle coming to a momentary pause. Then, a thunderous cheer erupted. Duan Muqi and Old Shang, who had already advanced by default, watched the Group G battle, their expressions growing more serious. Duan Muqi had been defeated by Song Ke before, so he had always been cautious about her. He wanted to have a fair and square showdown with her. On the other hand, Old Shang was a man with deep thoughts and had eliminated his adversaries, but he had yet to make a move against V587. This was quite unexpected. Duan Muqi teased, "Old Shang, allowing your opponents to grow seems to be against your style." Old Shang snorted, an uncharacteristic lack of retort. He also wanted to suppress V587 and snuff out the enemy while they were still in the cradle. The key was that he couldn't get a hold of them. After the Mirror Lake competition's round of 64, Old Shang dispatched his men to gather information about V587. Just as he was starting to get some leads, they disappeared without a trace the next day, and he couldn't find them anywhere in the entire Ferrara. After waiting for the round of 32, V587 reappeared, and Old Shang immediately ordered his men to eliminate them. But before they could act, Leon's uprising and the zombie attack threw Ferrara into endless chaos. By the time Old Shang regained his senses, they had disappeared again. Seeing that their opponent was becoming increasingly powerful and might even threaten to win the championship, Old Shang could no longer sit still. This round was his last opportunity to take action. If they managed to advance to the finals, everything would be uncertain. V587, no matter what, I won't let you leave Ferrara alive this time. Group G. Lu Xiaoyu fought with a godlike demeanor, defeating all the challengers. As the match went on, it became absurd. One of his mechanical arms opened a data panel and began working slowly and leisurely, all while effortlessly battling his opponents. His arrogant demeanor was infuriating, making everyone grit their teeth. The defeated challengers regretted their decisions bitterly. In the first round, V587 secured an easy victory. In the second round, it was Xu Xing's turn to take the stage. It was his first time participating in a solo battle, and he climbed onto the platform nervously. He glanced back and saw Song Ke, who was swaying to the music, cheering him on from below. Beside her were Zhuang Qingyan, who had a half-smile on his face, Su Cha, who had a neutral expression, and the drowsy Fang Jishu. Xu Xing's face was tense, but he nodded heavily. He thought that he would be an easy target for his challengers due to his young age. However, to his surprise, the defending champions from other groups were even weaker. Everyone had analyzed the match videos, and in comparison, Xu Xing, who had once single-handedly killed a mutant zombie, was surprisingly one of the top contenders. In the end, only 3 people dared to challenge him. Xu Xing went from being the lowest-ranked player in V587 to being seen as a formidable opponent by others in no time. He hadn't even realized it himself. The whoosh of his ice blades quickly put all 3 challengers on the ground. Xu Xing, am I really this strong? Why didn't I know? V587 won 2 consecutive rounds. In the third round, it was Su Cha's turn. With a single push, he leapt onto the platform like a nimble cheetah. Su Cha was a tall man, standing at 1.9 meters. His short hair, tattoos, and the wild and untamed look in his eyes made him appear intimidating. However, the other teams had also reached the brink of elimination and had no choice but to challenge him. There were 5 challengers in total. Su Cha, who had been tempered by the death prison, easily defeated his opponents, even without using his special ability. Song K in the audience was a bit puzzled. Why do they seem weaker? Zhuang Qingyan shook his head. It's not that they've become weaker. It's that we've become stronger. The strength of their 7-member team had far exceeded that of the other participants in the throne race, from being evenly matched in the preliminary rounds to now holding a clear lead. They were no longer on the same level as the rest of the competition. Su Cha defeated the last challenging opponent, and V587 had won 3 consecutive rounds, advancing to the final of the throne race. As the excited announcer, AK, announced the list of finalists, Song K and her team walked against the crowd to meet with Lin Yuyu, who was waiting outside. Zhuang Qingyan asked in a low voice, "Did you manage to get Mu City's access permit?" Lu Xiaoyu replied casually, "Done." With a motion of his mechanical arm, they all received 7 fake identification cards that were indistinguishable from real ones, all registered in District C55, Mu City. "Let's not waste any more time. Let's go, but before we go, we need a new starship." "You've got the nerve to say that. If it weren't for you crashing our last one, would we need a new one?" Song K noticed that someone was slowly falling behind and looked back at him. "What's wrong?" Fang Jishu wiped his face and his emotions were trembling uncontrollably. He took a deep breath and said, "Nothing, let's go." It took some time, but they managed to sneak into the starship harbor of Ferrara and disappeared from view at the gate. Just a few seconds after they entered, a spatial distortion occurred, and a group of individuals with supernatural abilities slowly appeared from the shadows. "Is everyone here?" The leader, a spatial manipulation awakener, asked coldly. "We're all here. Hurry up and get to work. This is the 3rd time. If we can't complete the mission this time, Mr. Shang won't spare us." "Do you understand?" "We understand." Just as they were about to move, they suddenly heard the familiar sound of a starship taking off from the starship harbor. It seemed like the sound of a starship lifting off. The leader with spatial manipulation abilities felt a shadow fall over his heart. "Oh no, quickly, get inside." Before he could finish his sentence, a silver starship rapidly ascended into the sky, moving swiftly through the steamships and flower ships below, and disappeared into the neon depths in the blink of an eye. One of the pursuers muttered, "Damn it." TN Story of the TNG's Horse Race Chapter 84. When the Roses Bloom, 2. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. Birds and house dogs. These identity documents, why are all the professions mercenaries? During the flight, Lin Yuyu had some free time, so she flipped through the forged admission applications made by Lu Xiaoyu and noticed a common trait. Mercenaries are the best choice. Lu Xiaoyu probably thought everyone had the same level of intelligence as him, as he didn't continue to explain after saying this. The rest of the people looked at each other in confusion. They didn't quite understand, but they didn't want to ask and make themselves appear ignorant. Song K turned to Alliance Know-It-All, Zhuang Qingyan, and secretly signaled to him. Zhuang Qingyan cleared his throat and timely explained to everyone. The social structure of the Mu City society is highly stratified, with people divided into different classes. At the top is the magistrate, also known as General, who holds supreme power and authority. He is the creator of the rules, and right and wrong are determined by his will alone. Below the general are warlord leaders and various military officers, who monopolize the channels of military production and enjoy many privileges, even having private armed forces. As beneficiaries of these privileges, they fervently support the rule of the general and become his loyal henchmen. The 3rd level consists of the wealthy and businessmen, who serve as intermediaries for the circulation of military supplies and amass great wealth. They may appear prosperous on the surface, but because of the illegitimate sources of their assets, they must rely on the protection of warlords and are usually closely aligned with them. The starship soared across the horizon, and the navigation system indicated that they were nearing the border of District C-55. Surrounding Mu City were several D-level cities, forming a crescent shape around it in the central region. Zhuang Qingyan quickened his pace of explanation. From the 4th level and below, you have mercenaries, workers, and the destitute. Mercenaries make up a large portion, they act relatively independently. Workers are often local residents for generations, leading uneventful lives but at least living without worry. At the lowest level are the destitute, also known as the downtrodden, with the lowest status, only able to do laborious work and constantly facing the risk of expulsion. After hearing the explanation, everyone suddenly understood. It made sense why Lu Xiaoyu had chosen the identity of a mercenary. Officers and wealthy individuals were prominent figures in the local community, and their unfamiliar faces would only invite unnecessary trouble. Workers and the destitute had too many limitations, which wouldn't be conducive to their operations. Therefore, being mercenaries seemed like the perfect choice. Lu Xiaoyu slowly reduced the speed of the starship and said, "We can't proceed any further. Once we enter Mu City's territory, unidentified flying objects will be shot down." Lin Yuyu peered outside, but the limited view through the window made it difficult to see clearly. "Is there something ahead?" Song Ke put on a hood, opened the starship's cabin door, and hung onto the handrail with one hand, leaning out to look into the distance. The high-altitude wind blew against their faces, bone-chilling cold. Beneath their feet, there were countless zombies and mutated animals wandering aimlessly between the wilderness and the abandoned cities. The sound of gunfire and howls echoed back and forth, and occasionally, they could hear intense gunfire. The cities they had visited before, whether it was Ferrara or Tungwan, had relatively clean surroundings, with the nearby zombies having been cleared out. And Sin City, due to its unique geographical location, was far from natural disasters. However, the current view of Mu City revealed the most brutal side of the apocalypse. Between several D-level cities, there was a road faintly visible, enclosed by a high-voltage iron net, leading directly into the distance and extending to the base of the city walls. This is Mu City's lifeline, and only those who pass through this road are qualified to enter the city, Zhuang Qingyan explained. Song Ke fixed her gaze on the endpoint of the lifeline, which was the impenetrable city of Mu City, and at the other end, there seemed to be an endless horde of zombies. She smiled and asked, "To enter the city, do we have to pass a test?" "We'll kill our way in," he said. There was no one nearby, and there was no need to hide their abilities. After descending to low altitude, the 7 of them successively jumped off the starship. Song Ke drew her twin blades from behind, Su Cha unsheathed his dagger, Lu Xiaoyu's 6 mechanical arms were displayed menacingly, Lin Yuyu's singing voice echoed, creating sound waves around them, and Xu Xing, right behind them, unleashed a barrage of ice blades. V-587 cooperated seamlessly, unleashing its full firepower. A group of ashen-eyed beasts suddenly jumped out. They resembled dogs but were smaller than wolves, surrounding them, baring their teeth and growling. These were the unique and fierce creatures of Mu City, the zombie hyenas. Song Ke quickened her pace, charging forward with her dual blades spinning to eviscerate the hyenas, slicing their bodies in half in an instant. Various supernatural abilities shone brightly, and in less than 5 minutes, a small-scale battle was swiftly extinguished, with V-587 effortlessly eliminating the obstacles in their path. Even Fang Jishu, holding a spiritual weapon longsword, though he was in the support class, couldn't always rely on others for protection. He needed to learn to defend himself and, when necessary, could deliver a few blows himself. The lifeline was about 6 to 7 kilometers long, and along the way, they encountered other teams hunting zombies. Each time they killed one, they recorded it with their terminals. When Song Ke and her group passed by, the people in those teams were intimidated by the aura of death on them and took 2 steps back, leaving the zombies behind as they ran away. Judging from their abilities, it was evident that the others were also awakeners. Song K was puzzled. What are they doing? Zhuang Qingyan answered, they should be clearers. What are clearers? New City's specialty is that most of its population consists of mercenaries and the destitute, responsible for clearing the monsters outside the city to prevent the outbreak of zombie hordes, Zhuang Qingyan explained. As they passed by abandoned buildings along the way, they occasionally saw signs of human activity, half-built camps, and unfinished drinking water. Song K furrowed her brow and asked, why live here? It's all zombies nearby, and sleeping out in the open doesn't seem like a good choice. Zhuang Qingyan's eyes darkened. Without admission applications, they can only wander around the outskirts. Lu Xiaoyu accessed the new laws enacted by the general after the apocalypse and said, New City revoked the permanent residence rights of the destitute within the area and replaced it with a quantitative approach. They release 300 temporary slots for the clearers every day. Only those who complete the clearing tasks are allowed to enter the city. Lin Yuyu frowned. Isn't this essentially forcing people into dangerous situations? Accidents happen all the time when hunting zombies. While the destitute have a lowly status, this kind of oppression is too much, isn't it? Fang Jishu, who had been silent, spoke coldly. In the eyes of a tyrant, all destitute are like pigs and dogs. What's there to care about with pigs and dogs? Just call them twice, and they stop in their tracks. The others sighed at his words. This was a brutal city. After walking for half an hour, the number of zombies gradually decreased. At the same time, the towering city wall, with no visible end, gradually appeared in front of them. At regular intervals along the wall, there were rows of dark tanks and heavy artillery, and patrol drones circled the sky. It truly lived up to its reputation as the Alliance's arms depot, with these heavy weapons serving as a glaring deterrent to outsiders. At the city gate, there were several long lines of people, stretching as far as the eye could see, all of them clearers who had come to complete their tasks. As Song K and her group walked along with the crowd, they overheard hushed conversations among those waiting in line. Did you meet the criteria? I did, but I came back late, afraid I won't get in. Who's on duty at the gate today? Go Denwei, that lackey. Forget it, don't bother waiting in line, try your luck tomorrow. Go Denwei? Song K's sharp ears picked up on the unfamiliar name. When they got closer, the group chose the line marked Green Channel, Mercenaries Only, where there were noticeably fewer people. A sentry on duty asked in a routine manner, show your admission permits. Song K held up her terminal, tapped it against the interface, and Lu Xiaoyu's forged identity information appeared on the screen. The sentry glanced at it and processed their passage through the instrument. Proceed to the checkpoint ahead for verification. Just a moment, a deep voice suddenly rang out, followed by the heavy footsteps of military boots on the ground. The sentry stood up, looking somewhat fearful. Lord Godenwei, what are your orders? Godenwei was dressed in the uniform of a mercenary, had tanned skin, and had a robust, imposing physique. He squinted his eyes slowly and asked, are you mercenaries? Whose mercenaries are you? I've never seen you before. Song K's heart skipped a beat, and she couldn't help but feel nervous. She thought, oh, this Godenwei is also a mercenary, and he seems quite knowledgeable about the situation in New City. In response to Godenwei's questioning, Zhuang Qingyan remained calm and composed, saying, we are freelance mercenaries. We left New City for a mission before the apocalypse and have just returned. It's not surprising that you haven't seen us, but ignorance cannot be your excuse to hinder us. Godenwei stared at him for a couple of seconds, snorted, and then meticulously examined the identity information of each member of the group. Their hometowns were indeed in District C55, New City, and he couldn't find any discrepancies. However, he had an animal instinct, and these people didn't seem like local mercenaries. He pointed at Song K and said, you, undergo verification. Silently, Song K walked forward, with Go Denwei following closely behind her. Song K reached the checkpoint and entered a machine similar to a scanner. Numerous beams of light covered her from head to toe, capturing her facial and body data, and the screen displayed the message, "Verification in progress." As time passed, the result was still not visible. Go Danwei's expression grew cold, and he pulled a particle gun from his waist, aiming it at Song K's head, ready to pull the trigger. "What are you doing?" Lin Yuyu shouted, her heart pounding. Fang Jishu and Su Cha's palms also tightened their grip on their weapons. Xu Xing, being young, had a tense expression, and his lips quivered slightly. Zhuang Qingyan moved at just the right moment, placing himself between Go Denwei and Song K, his expression still calm. Song K was anxious and stole a quick glance in Lu Xiaoyu's direction, silently praying, "Lu Xiaoyu, please come through for us." Lu Xiaoyu sat in his wheelchair, looking unperturbed, and even yawned as if saying, "Are you doubting me?" Zhuang Qingyan subtly nodded in her direction, and Song K, for some reason, began to relax a bit. After 5 seconds, the scanner's screen finally displayed, "Verification passed, welcome home, mercenary." Song K straightened up her posture, maintaining a composed expression, but inside, she let out a huge sigh of relief. Go Denwei shifted the barrel of his gun to the side, gesturing for Song K to move along, but he still didn't lower the weapon. He said, "Next one." The remaining 6 members of the group took their turns in the scanner one by one, and all of them passed without any issues. Go Denwei finally holstered his particle gun and said in a peculiar tone, "Welcome home, freelance mercenaries." The group entered Mu City under Go Danwei's watchful gaze, and they felt the uneasy sensation of his eyes on their backs until it disappeared from view. Song K muttered, "Who is that guy?" Lu Xiaoyu slid his fingers across the terminal and replied, "Just checked the information. Go Denwei is a private soldier raised by the warlord Miao Lun's family. And to add, Miao Lun's reputation in Mu City is extremely notorious. In Mu City, mercenaries were divided into 2 categories: freelance mercenaries, nicknamed Flying Birds, who had no constraints and could choose the contracts they wanted to take, and private soldiers loyal to the powerful, derogatorily referred to as house dogs. Although they enjoyed a comfortable life, their reputation was often tainted by the actions of the warlords. "Lu Xiaoyu, you're really amazing," Song K genuinely praised him. While she was standing in the scanner, there was a moment when she had a fleeting thought of the image of "verification failed" in her mind, causing her heart to race. Lu Xiaoyu accepted her praise with composure. Xu Xing followed behind them and discreetly glanced at Lu Xiaoyu. He moved closer to him, his big eyes shimmering as if he had made a decision. When they turned a corner, the entire city of Mu City lay before them. Compared to other sea-level cities, Mu City's level of technology wasn't particularly impressive, and its architectural style was quite ordinary. It resembled the D-level cities they had visited, such as Hua City and Luli Port. However, the air here was thick with the scent of gunpowder. Mercenaries walked the streets armed to the teeth, and you could encounter restrictions and private guards wielding weapons on every corner. Military factories were ubiquitous and belonged to different factions. In the distance, at the tops of the mountain ranges, there was a grand golden palace, with its spires piercing the sky, symbolizing authority. Massive holographic projections hung on both sides of the streets, displaying the image of a middle-aged man with striking silver hair, dressed in the attire of Mu City's supreme ruler, adorned with numerous medals and ribbons. He had a stern face, prominent eyebrows, and a sharp, imposing hawk-like nose. "Nai Kong," Fang Jishu exclaimed, looking up, trembling all over. He called out the man's name heavily. Nai Kong, the tyrant, was the highest executive officer of Mu City, the general at the top of the pyramid, and the person Fang Jishu wanted to kill but couldn't. "We will succeed," Song K reassured him, placing her hand on his shoulder. Fang Jishu's reaction was a bit exaggerated, and they were currently on the streets, which could easily arouse suspicion from others. Zhuang Qingyan suggested, "Let's find a place to stay first." As they were planning to stay in New City for a while, they decided to rent an apartment. "Regarding the situation in New City, we should take some time to explore, and in the next few days, we can split up to gather more information," Zhuang Qingyan said with gravity. "It's okay. We have plenty of time," Song Ke said in a relaxed tone. Since they had already infiltrated the city, their registered hometown was New City, and they wouldn't have the problem of lacking access permissions. As long as they were cautious, they wouldn't be discovered. Beep beep. At the same moment, their terminals displayed a message. This was a broadcast message intended for all residents in the area, and it could be received by anyone in New City. Starting today, the modification of access restrictions validity period is implemented. Please strictly adhere to the following regulations. The validity period for destitutes is reduced to 3 days. Permanent residency rights for workers and freelance mercenaries are revoked. Workers have a 7-day access period, and freelance mercenaries have 15 days, with the possibility of extension by completing municipal tasks. Zhuang Qingyan's voice suddenly grew solemn. "The general has issued a new law." This was the power of New City's tyrant, who could modify local laws at any time. Their identity documents displayed an additional line of information. Remaining validity period of your access application: 14 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 42 seconds. Time was decreasing rapidly. The faces of everyone in the room, including Zhuang Qingyan, suddenly turned grim. They were freelance mercenaries, and they had thought that once they entered New City, they could rest easy. But now, they realized that they were about to be sent out as clearers just as they had barely settled in. Song Ke, who had just said, "We have plenty of time," quietly covered her mouth. Oh no, she must have jinxed it with her crow's mouth, right? "TN almost done with my other TL project New Link. It's more of a slow life and slice of life kind of thing, set in the 1970s. Give it a try." Chapter 85. When the Roses Bloom. 3. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. My people, countdown. 15 days. As the concrete dates for their possible stay were determined, V587 began to feel an inexplicable sense of urgency. If within these 15 days they made no progress, they would be forced either to take on the role of a clearer or face expulsion from New City. After the recent amendments to the laws, the application process would now involve constant and unrelenting scrutiny. Their household registrations were already forged, and any further intervention by Lu Xiaoyu would only increase the risk of exposure. What was more significant was the inclusion of freelance mercenaries in these amendments. Specifically mentioning flying birds, and yet not imposing mandatory regulations on house dogs, the general was still providing a small amount of face saving to those who supported him. "Time is limited. Let's divide into groups and take action tomorrow," said Zhuang Qingyan in a grave tone. The group division resulted in Song Ke and Zhuang Qingyan forming one, Lin Yuyu paired with Su Cha in another, while the remaining 3, Lu Xiaoyu, Fang Jishu, and Xu Xing, formed the last group. After a brief sleep, the next morning, V587 set out in different directions to gather intelligence. Song Ke and Zhuang Qingyan arrived at the Golden Palace, the general's residence also known as the Reunification Palace. The main gate of the Reunification Palace was heavily guarded by armed soldiers, with a demarcated exclusion zone that barred anyone from approaching. Though there were no visible signs of heavy weaponry, an air of palpable hostility pervaded the atmosphere. Song Ke cautiously felt along the perimeter, daring to consider scaling the wall, but Zhuang Qingyan stopped her by pulling her hood. "Don't go there, there's infrared detection." Song Ke silently withdrew the foot she had already lifted and released a wisp of mental energy, confirming the presence of numerous concealed mechanisms within the walls. The infrared sensors swiveled in a different direction, and the smell of gunpowder grew stronger. Song Ke's hairs stood on end. She quickly retreated. She had a premonition that any trespassing or unusual behavior would immediately prompt numerous muzzles to aim and obliterate her on the spot. Zhuang Qingyan scanned the surroundings and swiftly made a decision. Let's head to the hill opposite. The two changed course and ascended the hill. Although the distance was great, from there, they could overlook the entire reunification palace. Captain, please support me a little. Zhuang Qingyan extended his left hand, openly displaying weakness to her. Wasn't there a cane? Song Ke murmured softly but dutifully held his arm. The mountain path was uneven. When Zhuang Qingyan stood up, he accidentally stepped on some gravel, causing his body to lean slightly towards Song Ke. Song Ke instinctively lifted her head just as the other person was bowing down. Their breaths unexpectedly intertwined. Zhuang Qingyan's deep peach blossom eyes curved, and his magnetic voice seemed as if it intended to seep into Song Ke's ears. I want to draw, it's more convenient leaning against you. Song Ke blinked slowly, swiftly turned her head, and suddenly felt a warmth in her ears. Oh, she didn't know what to say and finally responded. Zhuang Qingyan skillfully manipulated the screen and sketched and painted. Song Ke watched as he delineated the three-dimensional structure of the Golden Palace, even creating models and sections. She stole a glance at the person beside her, focusing intently on his profile. Song Ke looked again and again, gradually becoming entranced. How could this person be so intelligent? Not only did he understand a lot, but he seemed to know everything. He could effortlessly draw even. As Zhuang Qingyan drew, he spoke. The general's mansion is larger than we anticipated. Sneaking in recklessly poses a high risk and could easily alert the guards. Oh, Song Ke hadn't caught what he said at all. She mumbled in response, feeling a bit uneasy as she awkwardly touched her own neck. You keep the blueprints. Zhuang Qingyan finished drawing, handed the screen to Song Ke, then stood upright, closing his eyes slightly. A strong surge of mental energy slowly flowed out from him, heading directly towards the reunification palace. There are awakeners inside, probably the guard unit, mainly A and B levels, and their numbers, close to 100. Suddenly, Song Ke remembered the first encounter with the mutant zombie at the city hall in Luli Port. She and Xu Xing couldn't find their way, but it was Zhuang Qingyan who first noticed the mental energy fluctuations and led them through the maze. He seemed particularly sharp in this regard. It seems like a direct assault won't work. We'll have to think of another way, Zhuang Qingyan said. As he spoke, he noticed Song Ke's strange expression. What's wrong? Song Ke lifted her head and said seriously, Lu Xiaoyu is S-level, and he has demonstrated his strength before. You are also S-level, but I don't know how powerful you are. Apart from the incident at Manzoni Street when he rescued her from the bloody killer, Punk, Zhuang Qingyan had barely used his abilities. Most of the time, he was strategizing. As an S-level psychic awakener, his true strength was still a mystery. You should think this way, because there's a reassuring captain, so there's no need for me to step in, Zhuang Qingyan said with a sly smile. Song Ke turned her head, puffed her cheeks, and hmphed at his sweet words. On the other side, Lu Xiaoyu and his two companions arrived at Mu City's commission center. This place gathered a large number of mercenaries and awakeners, a diverse crowd, the best place for outsiders to gather information. Lu Xiaoyu found a self-service terminal and, after a moment of tinkering, suddenly sounded puzzled. Huh? What have you found? Fang Jishu asked in a low voice. Lu Xiaoyu accessed the new announcement he had just seen. Mu Qin's family issued a recruitment notice for the guard unit 2 days ago. Fang Jishu concentrated on reading the contents of the recruitment notice. They will hold a hero banquet in their residence in 7 days, recruiting for the guard unit on site, inviting all the aspiring individuals in the region. The identity is unrestricted, but it requires the submission of a level 3 crystal. Mu Qin, Miao Lun, and Ruan Wenjun were the 3 major warlords in Mu City. Not only did these 3 families tightly control the core development of military technology, but it's also said that they have a close relationship with the general. Joining their guard unit could grant an individual an officer's status, facilitating a leap in social rank. A level 3 crystal, also known as a blue crystal, is exceedingly rare in terms of availability. It's only produced by evolved level 3 zombies or mutant zombies of B level and above. This threshold can be considered quite high. Liu Xiaoyu returned to the hall and found a secluded corner, his focus fixed on the central floating screen, where numerous data streams flowed through his pupils. He rapidly sifted through the information, occasionally pausing at seemingly unrelated fragments. "Cover me, I'm looking for something," he said. Fang Jishu and Xu Xing quickly positioned themselves to shield him. After a while, Liu Xiaoyu's movements came to a halt. "Ah, so that's how it is." Before sunset, V-587 safely returned and gathered at the apartment. "We went to the arms factory, but it's heavily guarded by a large number of private soldiers. It's impossible to sneak in. Here's the footage we captured." Lin Yuyu cast the terminal's projection, showing Su Cha stealthily approaching the periphery. The footage shook for a moment, followed by clear sounds of patrol teams and a vague view of something tank-like being loaded onto a vehicle and taken away. We also went to the reunification palace. Song K displayed the architectural structure diagram drawn by Zhuang Qingyan, emphasizing that both direct assault and infiltration were unfeasible. They were all at a loss. A day had passed, and they remained clueless, with only 14 days left. "We've made a discovery," suddenly said Liu Xiaoyu, lifting their spirits. "What did you find?" the others asked eagerly. "We found out that Mu Qin's family is about to hold a hero banquet to recruit guards." "What does that have to do with us?" Song K inquired. "It's absolutely related." Liu Xiaoyu's icy eyes glinted as he presented all the information about the hero banquet. The timing of Mu Qin family's hero banquet is extremely subtle, occurring a whole 3 months earlier than usual. I have substantial evidence to suspect that, due to the urgent situation, they are actually gathering talents on behalf of the general. Liu Xiaoyu continued, the general might have encountered an ambush, causing shock or injury. He effortlessly retrieved news snippets from the cluttered data. A month ago, multiple media outlets reported that the general encountered an attack by refugees during a hunt. Fortunately, with timely defense, he escaped unscathed, while the rioting refugees were instantly subdued by the guard unit. Regardless of the general's actual condition, it's likely that his guard unit suffered some losses and therefore urgently needs fresh recruits. I analyzed surveillance footage of the general over the past 26 years. There have been approximately 132 different faces among his guards. If we can figure out how many are still around. 95 people, Zhuang Qingyan stated. There are 95 guard members remaining in the reunification palace, he confirmed. Are you sure? Liu Xiaoyu expressed doubt. More certain than you're, approximately, Zhuang Qingyan countered calmly. Liu Xiaoyu fell silent for 2 seconds and then clicked his tongue. But what kind of refugees could cause the general's guard unit to lose nearly 40 people? Lin Yuyu questioned, could there be another reason? How could a disorganized and undisciplined group of refugees overpower elite awakeners who make up the guard unit, all of whom are at least B-level and among the most skilled individuals? No matter what the truth is, for us, this is an opportunity. If we can attend the recruitment meeting, maybe we can infiltrate the guard unit, Zhuang Qingyan suggested. He didn't explicitly say the latter part, but everyone understood. The guard unit protects the general closely, and if they can successfully join, there will be opportunities for action. Song K lowered her head and rummaged through her backpack in dismay. But we don't have a level 3 crystal. The highest quality crystal she currently had was a green level 2 crystal from Mirror Lake's water monster. As for level 3 crystals, she had never even seen one. Su Cha chimed in, we could go to the lifeline. On the day we entered the city, I encountered level 2 zombies. In the surrounding D-level cities near Mu City, monsters roamed everywhere. If they searched carefully, they might discover level 3 zombies. Alas, Lin Yuyu felt a headache just thinking about zombies, It seems like there's no escaping playing the role of a cleaner again. Then it's settled. We'll leave the city tomorrow, Zhuang Qingyan declared. Song K cautiously sought the opinions of the others. Since we're going out, should I take on some commissions on the side? As the team captain, she needed to plan carefully to sustain the whole group. The other 6. Up to you. In Xi'an Port, a D-level city near Mu City, Lin Yuyu scoured the ruins for signs of zombies. Because V-587's dedicated captain, Song K, incidentally accepted over a dozen commissions, they were concerned about time and decided to split up to complete tasks. However, they weren't too far apart, so they could call out if anything happened. As Lin Yuyu emerged from a collapsed office building, she brushed off the dust. Just as she looked up, a group of fierce-looking mercenaries approached her. Noticing she was alone, they stopped with hostile intent. The post-apocalyptic setting, the ruins, and a vulnerable yet beautiful young woman, these 3 elements together easily spark the imagination. The mercenary, Sang Bo, was one of those lower creatures. He stared fixedly at Lin Yuyu, excitement tugging at the corners of his mouth. His companion, Hu Chao, guessed what he was thinking and cautioned in a deep voice, Sang Bo, such a fine commodity should be offered to Lord Miao Lun. Sang Bo shrugged it off. Lord Miao Lun has seen enough beauty. One won't make a difference. I'll enjoy myself first. He emerged from the rubble and whistled provocatively at Lin Yuyu. Furrowing her brows, Lin Yuyu coldly ordered, "Go away." Sang Bo, however, didn't retreat but instead leered, his sinful eyes lingering on Lin Yuyu's face and descending further. Incensed, Lin Yuyu struck him hard across the face. There was a moment of silence among the others. Sang Bo seemed momentarily stunned, spitting out a mouthful of blood. "The little girl's got some fire, I like it." Suddenly, his body turned into a black, rotten mud, moving behind Lin Yuyu. It reconstituted, with his robust wrist now seizing her arm. His lips approached her cheek, his foul breath ominously close. Enraged, Lin Yuyu prepared to retaliate but realized she couldn't sing. No, a silence field, her innate ability restrained her. She couldn't sing, nor could she even make a sound to call for help. Startled, Lin Yuyu looked up to see another lean man opposite her, covering his left eye while his bloodshot right eye fixed deeply on her. The world around Lin Yuyu fell into silence. She couldn't hear or produce any sound. As Sang Bo's foul breath neared, she felt a wave of nausea. With a slight movement of her sleeve, a dark blue hand arrow fell into her palm. She cut herself deeply. The world remained silent, but a gust of wind rushed past Lin Yuyu, a graceful figure zipping by her, heading straight for the lean man. She breathed a sigh of relief. Song K's hand flashed with a sharp blue light, piercing directly into the sinister eye of the lean man. Ah! A piercing scream tore through the air, breaking the silence field of the opponent. Almost simultaneously, Sang Bo, who had been restraining Lin Yuyu, was struck heavily in the chest by another foot, causing blood to spurt out. Lin Yuyu took the opportunity to escape. In front of Sang Bo, Su Cha, furiously enraged, released his erratic ability, thunderously attacking him. Realizing imminent danger, Sang Bo's body rapidly disintegrated into black mud, about to retreat. An ethereal song resonated in his mind. Suddenly, a boundless fear overwhelmed Sang Bo, freezing him in place, unable to move. This was Lin Yuyu's A-level ability, a debuff control. Su Cha unleashed his venom, covering the wriggling black mud, inflicting unbearable pain on Sang Bo. Reverting to human form, he climbed in agony. At that moment, a dagger, infused with a green hue, pierced his heart. Sang Bo turned in shock, seeing that Lin Yuyu had used Su Cha's dagger to personally end his life. In just a few seconds, a sudden turn of events. Both mercenaries who had targeted Lin Yuyu fell dead on the spot. Song K landed beside Lin Yuyu, asking, "Are you okay?" Su Cha, a towering figure, looked down at her, a hint of regret flickering in his eyes. Lin Yuyu held his shoulder, reassuring him, "I'm fine." Not far away, Zhuang Qingyan and the others heard the commotion and quickly rushed over. Hu Chao, witnessing Sang Bo's death, spoke with a grave expression, "Who are you? Daring to kill the Miao Lun family's mercenaries, don't you want to survive here?" Song Ke fearlessly stared back, "We are freelance mercenaries." "Freelance mercenaries? From the south or the western street? Who's your boss? Which faction?" Hu Chao pressed. Quote, "Are there factions among freelance mercenaries?" Song Ke couldn't come up with an answer. Hu Chao grew suspicious. "Whose people are you, really?" His mercenaries behind him assumed a combat stance, encroaching on the group. V-587 tensed up, preparing for a confrontation. The tense atmosphere was on the brink of eruption. Boom! A micro-missile hit the open space between the two groups of people, shattering rocks and raising a cloud of dust. "My people," a familiar voice rang out.